This story takes place in the port of Veracruz and is narrated by a fisherman named Bernardo Hernandez. It's set approximately in the 1970s to 80s, where he worked small-scale fishing out of Veracruz, going out in a small boat with nets, catching fish and shrimp to sell. Bernardo was always accompanied by his young son, who was 9 years old at the time. He was teaching the boy the art of fishing, how to swim in open water, how to work the nets, how to locate schools of fish. The boy had a very particular fascination with the sea. He loved it deeply, always gazing at the water in a special way. On one of their trips out at sea, they cast their net over what appeared to be a large school of fish. When they began pulling it in, Bernardo felt unusual resistance. Something was thrashing and pulling against the net. When they finally hauled it up, among all the fish was a small, young dolphin that had been caught. The dolphin had something very particular about it, held carefully in its mouth. Not tangled, but almost cradled, was a necklace made of shells and sea snails. At the center hung a large conch shell, about the size of a palm, like a medallion. The dolphin seemed to be transporting or protecting it. Bernardo became obsessed with taking the necklace. He wrestled with the dolphin, which refused to let go, emitting small, distressed sounds and clinging to the collar desperately. His son kept begging, let it go, give it back to the sea." Bernardo wouldn't listen. After a long struggle, he forced the dolphin's mouth open and ripped out the necklace, holding it up like a trophy. When he turned back, the dolphin was dead. The boy burst into tears, devastated. Bernardo, unmoved, picked up the dolphin's body and threw it back into the sea. Afterward, he lost all interest in the necklace and simply gave it to his son. The boy kept it as a painful memory of the day he witnessed his father's cruelty. In the days and weeks that followed, the boy began to change. He became obsessed with the sea, always wanting to be out on the water, always pressing the conch shell to his ear and listening. He told his father, "Do you want to hear? It sounds like someone singing." Bernardo would pat his head and say, "Those are just stories, my love." He never took the time to listen himself. The boy stopped talking to his friends. He didn't want to go to school. He only wanted to be near the sea, always with the shell to his ear, always staring at the water. One evening, as they were heading back home, the sun had set a few minutes earlier than expected. The boy was sitting on the edge of the boat, with the shell pressed to his ear. Bernardo was busy steering and managing the day's catch. For just a moment, he glanced over at his son. The boy looked back at his father. The last thing he said was, "It's time." He stood up and let himself fall into the sea. Bernardo screamed his son's name. Every fisherman on board was alarmed. Bernardo leaped into the water. They searched for hours with lanterns and large spotlights. They called the Coast Guard. Divers arrived. The Navy came. They never found the boy. Never. The only thing recovered at the end of that terrible night was the necklace floating on the surface. Bernardo says he is completely certain that one of these creatures took his son. He deeply regrets never having listened to the singing his son said he could hear in that conch shell. To this day, he still has the shell. Now an elderly man, he presses it to his ear, not hoping to hear the sirens, but in the desperate, irrational hope of somehow hearing his son. He never has, only silence. The same silence that has filled his life since the day he lost his boy.